Okay. I'm gonna go over why did WoW fail. It's a very lazy PowerPoint I've created. But it covers all the topics and doesn't miss any notes. So we'll start. First off, we're talking about patch 1.5. It's the first of the DEI lesbian ideas. In theory, instance battlegrounds sounded kind of cool, kind of like Quake 3 Arena, where it's kind of a structured format. I think they were probably pulling inspiration from games like Quake 3 Arena and Unreal Tournament, which were popular in the early 2000s. Especially in Unreal Tournament, you could have these huge battles on these massive landscapes. And I think that's what they tried to implement into World of Warcraft with battlegrounds, instanced areas for PvP that you just don't have to worry about the rest of the world. You just kind of zone in, and you've got a set, balanced, environment to do battle with against the other faction. Just it's a safe space that the DEI lesbians think that they need to implement into the game world because they're bad at the game, so they need little safety measures to prevent them from losing. But that's essentially the first big wrong direction that they went. Essentially, you've got no more PvP in the game world. You could run around and maybe kill one or two people every 10 minutes with exploration, or you could just go over to the battleground and wait for your queue and just get tons of honor in this instanced area where your enemies can't leave. It's much more efficient to just wait and get teleported into these battlegrounds where you're just standing around and then boop, your queue pops up and you can just disappear from the game world, and there's no explanation for it. It's just you're running around with your friend and then boop, hey bro, I'm gonna go do this battleground. They're like, how are you gonna get there? Oh, it's just gonna instantly teleport me there. So that was kind of immersion breaking. It didn't really make sense, but the DEI lesbians didn't care because what it did is it made it safer for them to play the game. They didn't lose as many times because they were so bad. They got ganked in the game world. They were probably out in Silithus and probably trying to kill scorpions, and then some tier, I don't know what, tier 1, I guess that was out right then. So tier 1, fully geared, probably Fury Warrior just destroyed them with like OEB, or not OEB, but like I don't know, some Ani gear, two dual wielding, just absolutely destroyed this person, this DEI lesbian, probably around like level 56. And they were like, well, I'm actually a developer, so I'm going to push forward a change where you can't do that anymore because it's no longer efficient. So that's Battlegrounds. It's the first DEI lesbian safety measure. And sometime between patch 1.6 to 1.12, the DEI lesbians got even more sway, probably because the original game developers are getting paid so much that they just didn't even show up for work anymore. So we've got these DEI lesbians running the game now, and what they wanted to do was they wanted to make it even easier to get into these instance battleground areas where you can't get ganked, and if you're lower level, you also can't get ganked by higher levels. Everyone's the same level. Well, essentially the same level range. We're talking 50 to 60, etc. So, actually 50 to 59, and then you have the 60s in their own bracket. But basically, they made this concept of instance PvP much safer. Hold on, I gotta go through this. So, and what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, it's just not as efficient. Like, the DEI lesbians were like, I got ganked, so now I want it to make it to where ganking is no longer efficient, which is dumb. Like, you should, if you have, uber gear and you're higher level, you should be able to just roam the world and just slaughter these lower level players because they're not higher level. Simple as. But the DEI lesbians were afraid of that. They hated losing, so they made it to where it's much harder to lose unfairly. And as a result, players just, if you went to PvP, it's not even a question. You just stand around the main city, wait about 15 minutes between queues, and I mean that's what I did in Classic. You just get into the Alterac Valley Discord, and you just not even win trade. You just win as many times as you can. It took 7 minutes. Once you got all your guys in Discord, you all queue at the same time, and then depending on, like, I'm talking like 100 to 200 people queue at the same time on the same server, and then you wait. You don't click accept on the queue when it pops up. You wait, and I think you hit cancel. I'm not sure how we did it, but basically the queue would pop up, and we'd have like 200 people, and then they'd all join a certain number of the instance. There's like 40 different instances of Alterac Valley, and then they call out which instance to join, and then you all like select that instance of Alterac Valley. So we had a stacked, 30 to 40 people in the Discord, all running the same Alterac Valley. So it was a 7-minute win every single time. We just all sprint to Drac, and you got your 2 rogues destroying the towers. So the Drac has 2 buffs, and you just kill them in 7 minutes, and you win every time. It's like a couple thousand honor. And then I got, rank 7, or not rank 7. I got knight status in like a day. So Battlegrounds are kind of dumb. Because, I mean, even though we abused it, it's the most efficient way to level. Or most efficient way to get your honor and your ranking. Because you could run around the game world, but you'd be doing that probably for 15 times longer than just playing the same battleground over and over, the same instanced, safe 40v40 battleground. And we had to, in order to ensure our wins, we were in Discord. I mean, we wouldn't even have to do that if you just made it to where it was an open world PvP was more efficient. And if they did it that way, where open world PvP was more efficient, there'd still be Discord servers, but like you could decide whether or not you wanted to participate in some sort of raiding, like an open world raiding group to raid like capital cities. It'd be much more dynamic and much more interesting, in my opinion. So going on to Burning Crusade. Yeah, it's flying. So basically, you had this huge open world area. Mobs are all on the ground, but now you can just fly over them. I mean, how much more do I need to say? You get flying, and you no longer die. If something's attacking you, or I mean, like if you get jumped by something, you can't fly away. But if you have any foresight, where you're thinking about where you're going, you just fly over everything. Even with the base 160% or 150% movement speed for like 1,000 gold, like once you have that, you just win. You no longer die to anything unless you voluntarily choose to, because you can just fly over everything. You fly over to the city, get your quest, and then fly over to where the quest is, complete it, and then you fly back over to the city. All those threats in between are no longer a problem. Also, if there's a difficult terrain to get to a different area, like going from Zangar Marsh to whatever the pointy rock area is, like normally it's like 1,000-foot climb, and you have to find a cave route and all this stuff. But you just go with the flying mount. You just press a space bar for about 5 minutes, and then you go forward. Like that's all you have to do. So flying is kind of dumb. And then Wrath added Dalaran. You don't get to Dalaran until about level 75 or so, but once you do, I mean, you're done. It's like walking through the gates of heaven, because everything is there. And I mean, at that point, you just press the Q for dungeons until you're 85, and then you just wait for your guild to get ready for raids, and then you just run raids. I I mean, you could do rep farming, but once you're running raids, you get your raid gear, and that's better than your rep gear. So, I mean, once you... Yeah, it made the game pointless. Like, you press the Q button and you walk away, or you press the Q button and you alt-tab. There's no point in building a group, no point in roaming around the world, unless you're getting to an instance where you're doing a specific quest. Like, there's no more exploring. Like, you don't explore in the world anymore, because it's not efficient. You queue, or you battleground queue, or you wait for your guild, or you pug, I guess, if you're bad. But you wait for your guild to do their guild their guild run every week on the raids. And then, of course, at the end of Wrath, they added Dungeon Finder, which is, I mean, you couldn't queue for dungeons before this, but once they did, I mean, you just stay in Dalaran and queue for dungeons. If you're not already geared, this is how you gear. You get your dungeon gear, you get item level 200, and then you're done. You just run raids, and then you run your Old Duar, you run your TOC, and then you run your ICC. After a few months, you're just fully geared. You don't even have to explore. You don't have to do anything. You just get your 200 item level, run Nax, run Old Duar, run TOC, run ICC. You don't have to explore. And once you have flying, you just fly over to the instance. You have these in ICC. You have this huge like armies of things. Then you just fly over. You just fly right into the instance. Like, you could run up there, or you could just fly right over there. Everyone just flies over there. There's no voluntary riding into the area. That's so dumb. If you do that, you're not getting a raid invite. Simple as. Anyways.